Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Bandwagon Sports. And today I quickly wanted to talk about Anton Lundell. And you might have heard of the guy. He was drafted 12th overall in last year's draft, which was 2020, by the Florida Panthers. And Lundell has had a real outstanding season this season. That kind of didn't make sense, but whatever. And I just wanted to talk about him really bad. So we're going to do that today. So as I said, Anton Lundell, 12th overall last year's draft. He is only 19 years of age, and he won't turn 20 until next season. And he's been crazy. So crazy. But last year in 2019-20, in 44 games, he had 10 goals, 18 assists for 28 points, which is really good on its own. Those are some really great stats for an 18-year-old playing in Finland. And he also had a plus 11 with 18 penalty minutes. Lundell was actually playing in the Liga on his draft minus 1 year. So when he was 16, 17 years old, he was putting up good third-line numbers in the Liga, which is really outstanding. And I think the real thing with Lundell is that people saw him more as a defensive player, not so much as a two-way force, which I personally think, yes, he's awesome defensively, easily the best defensive forward out of the 2020 NHL draft. But I think that his two-way game is super underrated because he's a guy who can still put up 60 to 70 points on the board. I don't want to say he's Alexander Barkov, but when it comes to pure offensive play and defensive play and just two-way game, I think Lundell and Barkov share a lot of similarities, and I think maybe that's why Florida decided to take him at 12, because they saw quite a bit of Alexander Barkov and Anton Lundell. But let's get into his stats for this year, because that's what I'm really here to talk about. And he only played 26 games in the Liga this year, which is about half of what he played in his draft year, but he did not disappoint. In those 26 games, he put up 16 goals, 9 assists for 25 points, which is outstanding. I don't even know what to say about those numbers. I mean, he had a really hot start and slowed down near the end, but still a really great season. He was also a plus 9 and had 12 penalty minutes. And I should mention that he played for HIFK, which again is in the Liga. One of the better teams year in and year out. I don't know how they did this year or last year, but still pretty good play out of Lundell, and that's all I'm here to talk about. And not only did he have a great regular season, if you take a look at his World Junior stats from his draft year, he had 1 measly point, and I think that might have lowered his draft stock a little bit, because me too in particular was thinking, well, 1 point in 6 games in the World Juniors, maybe he's not up to putting up numbers yet like he's showing the Liga. Maybe guys are carrying him a little bit, and I still had him in my top 10, but I still was skeptical. This year, he blew his offensive complaints out of the water. In 7 games for Finland, he had 6 goals, 4 assists for 10 points. He was a plus 7, and he had 4 penalty minutes for Team Finland in the under-20s this year, and he was one of the best players at the tournament, really working with not superstar-level guys. Finland usually isn't a team that produces superstar-level guys, and Anton Lundell was the best player on that team, and he worked with what he had, and he made it work. He led Finland to a 4th-place finish, which is excellent. That's really all you can hope for out of a guy like Lundell, and that's still fantastic to finish 4th, get to that bronze medal game. Really amazing. But I want to talk about some of his, scouting reports here. I have 3 in particular that I want to talk about, and one is about his shooting, one is about his hockey IQ, and one is about his defense, but also passing. And, I think these scouting reports really do show just how underrated Anton Lundell is, and especially his offensive game could be. So we'll start with the shooting one, the offensive one. So, quote, works with and without the puck to put himself in convenient positions to shoot and doesn't need much time or space to release his wrist shot. And this one came from Elite Prospects, and I totally agree with this. Anton Lundell has an outstanding shot, and he does not need a lot of time to get it off. You can be watching him 1 second, you can blink, and that puck will be in the back of the net. He has such an outstanding shot that goes so underrated, and it's just one of the many flaws that I think people had with Anton Lundell last year. They didn't see the offensive ability that he had. And I'll also take the end sentence of this article I have from Dauber here, and it says, quote, more of a playmaker, but also has a great shot. So I have two articles here who are saying two different things: that he has an elite level shot, that, you know, he can get to those shooting lanes and really just rip one past the tendy. And I also have one who says that he's more of a playmaker and has an excellent passing game, but also does mention that great shot in there. So when you look at those two articles and you're getting both sides of the word, that really does mean that he has a complete two-way offensive game. And when people hear two-way forward, they usually think, oh yeah, he's got an offense and defense. But what I like to do is I like to digest it a little bit further. And when I hear two-way forward, I go, in which way? Because what I think of a two-way forward is you can have a defensive two-way forward and you can have an offensive two-way forward. An offensive two-way forward can shoot the puck, he can pass the puck, he can do it both. And that's what I think of when I think of an offensive two-way forward. And Anton Lundell is a natural two-way forward where he can also play defense, but he also is an offensive two-way forward where he can shoot and, you know, he can pass, and he has great IQ, he has great skill on the puck. He can do it all offensively. So let's move on to this next scouting report here, which I grabbed from Elite Prospects as well, and this one's more on his hockey IQ. Quote, everything about Lundell's game is methodical and calculated, always thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead of his opponents at any given moment, end quote. And I think, again, this really, really leads well into just how good he is in the two-way game. He can pass, he can shoot, he always knows what to do, and that's also one of Lundell's big selling points last year. Even if he does not develop his offensive game anymore, he still has the raw skills as a great thinker, a great shooter, a great passer, who, you know, his offensive talents aren't necessarily star offensive talents yet, but they certainly are NHL-ready offensive talents, and he improved on his offensive ability this season and really showed off his shot. He really showed off his IQ. I think that's amazing, but yeah, he's a great thinker. I think he definitely does think 2 or 3 steps ahead of his opponents. He always knows what to do. He never looks out of place. He always looks like he knows exactly what he's doing. And even if you think that, oh, there's a bad play by Lundell, he comes right back out and does something fantastic. It's just the way that this guy works. And we're going to move on to this next and last scouting report that I grabbed from Dauber Prospects. And it says, quote, a very smart and reliable two-way center with upside to become a number 1 center and a Selke Trophy candidate. So I'm not the only one who sees the complete two-way, you know, number 1 center feel in Lundell. Dauber feels that way too, and I didn't go too in-depth with scouting reports. I only looked on a few sites, but I think these 3 short little segments really tell a lot about Lundell's game, because they all say the same thing. They all say that he has a great offensive game, and I just haven't heard that out of any fans from Lundell, that he has a great offensive game. And that was his main concern. Will the offense follow? Yes, I think it will, and I think this season really proved it. And this number 1 center and Selke Trophy candidate, totally agree with that as well. I think Alexander Barkov will do a fabulous job at passing the torch down to Anton Lundell. I don't know if Anton Lundell is going to be in that 90 to 100 point range like Barkov can be in a good year, but I think he can definitely be a 70-point scorer with better defensive skills than Barkov has. So that's going to do it for this video. I just really wanted to talk about Anton Lundell and where I think he can go on from here, and, just how underrated he is, even by his own fan base. So thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.